Hello, what is up guys? It's EvilDoUsHarm, but today you can just call me Levi because in today's video, we're going to show you how to cook an absolute favorite of mine. This recipe's been in my family for generations. It is fettuccine Alfredo. You know on the channel sometimes I do cooking videos, but this one's a near and dear one to my heart. This is a really easy recipe if you're like a college student and want to impress your friends, live it in your apartment, but it's definitely something that can be sophisticated and scaled up to a larger crowd as well. To get started with this, what you're going to want to do is fill up a pot and start getting it hot. You want to get this water boiling and ready to go. You're also going to need two different size pans, one to prepare the sauce in and one to boil the pasta in. So I'm using this larger one to boil the pasta in, and we'll switch everything over to it in the end when we are ready to serve it. For the smaller pot, just using a little saucepan right here, nothing crazy. You're also going to need some salt if you want to salt your water when you cook your pasta. Everybody does it, you should too. So without further setup, let's get right into it, and you need to get this water boiling as soon as possible. This is going to be like the longest step in this whole process, so you want to make sure you get it ready to go. So take it, fill it up with water, get it on the stove, and start it boiling. So now while that's starting to boil, you're going to need to get your garlic ready to go and into your small saucepan. You need to have this sauteed before you get ready to actually start making the sauce. So take your saucepan over here, take some of the olive oil, add it in just a little bit, maybe a tablespoon or two. You do not want a lot. We're going to be adding a lot of fat with the butter here, so we want to minimize our fat intake. Go ahead and put that on like a medium heat right now while we get ready, and we're going to show you how to go ahead and mince up some garlic. So if you've never minced garlic before, it's actually really quite simple. All you got to do is take your head of garlic, break it into a little clove, set it up, and take your chef knife and just pop it. After that, it's going to split it right out of the shell, and you can peel it out pretty easily away from its shell itself, just like this. Now you have a perfectly shelled bit of garlic. Next thing we need to do is go ahead and start mincing this. So to do that, just line up your little bits of clove. Mine kind of broke when I pumped it, but hey, it's okay. And you want to put your fingers so that they're not going to get cut by the blade, and just work your way across. So after you've got it minced up really finely, you're going to go ahead and add it into the olive oil in the pan. So at this point, you can go ahead and turn up the heat a little bit and start getting that sauteing. This is going to take a few minutes, so let it go. Stir it around occasionally with a wooden spoon, plastic spoon, whatever kind of spoon you want. Doesn't really matter. So after a few minutes, you can see it's already going to start to bubble a little bit. Just get your wooden spoon and start stirring it around in that pan. You want to get this to a nice, like goldenish brown color. It's not going to take very long. You can see some of the pieces are already starting to take on that color. So maybe another couple minutes here. So it's probably been about another 35 seconds, and you can see it's starting to brown. Pretty much everything is turned brown here. So this is a good point. Just stir it around to keep it from sticking to the bottom of the pan. And we're going to go ahead and add in the butter at this point. So once again, we're using a whole stick of butter. This is salted butter. A lot of recipes call for unsalted butter and then just add salt into the thing in the end. It doesn't make sense to me. Just use the salted butter right off the start. So once again, whole stick of butter. Just going to drop it right into the pan. So as the butter starts to melt, you're going to want to drop the heat a little bit. Maybe about mid-burner. So you're going to see that after a few minutes, this is going to start to froth up a little bit. That's how we know we're ready to head into the next step. What we're going to want to do is either add some milk, half and half cream, whatever you happen to have in your kitchen. I usually use milk because I like to keep the fat content a little bit lower, but up to you which one you want to use. So here we are. We're going to go ahead and do a bit of half and half, and we're going to do a bit of milk. We're going to mix both of them because I'm a wild man. So all in all, you need to get 2 cups of milk total for this recipe. So 2 cups total. So take your pick however you want to get to it. So there's our first cup, and we want to stir this in slowly. If we go too fast, it's going to fume up. Just nice and slow, 1 cup at a time. You're going to see it bubbles up right away. That's fine. Stir this in, and then we'll go ahead and add in the second cup. Just go ahead and stir that. We got to let it heat up a little bit. And this is going to start to thicken on its own because of all the fat we have introduced in here. So just keep a constant eye on it, stir it a little bit, and you can see in the background over here, our pasta water is boiling and raring to go. So we're going to touch that in a second. We want to really make sure we get this milk incorporated in with the butter, though, before we hop over to that. So you can sort of faintly start to see that we're getting some steam popping up along the side of our bowl here. If it's taking too long for you, you can put up the heat a little bit. Don't go too much higher than medium heat, medium-high heat, though. You don't want to bring this up to a boil. We kind of just want to get it all incorporated and stirring it. So we're probably about 5 minutes after the last point where I started talking to you. So now we need to really think about what pasta we're using, right? So I'm using tortellini in this video. Tortellini takes like 3-4 minutes after you drop it back into the pasta and it starts to reboil, or into the water and it starts to reboil, before you want to pull it out and ultimately mix it in with your sauce. So the next step for the sauce is going to take about 5, 6, 7 minutes, somewhere in that area. So for the tortellini, I want to be doing both of these things simultaneously, which is going to get hard considering I'm trying to record myself and do it. If you're using something like a fettuccine or different longer pasta, they have longer cook times, so you're going to have to plan accordingly. At any rate, after we're starting to get this steam and some very faint bubbles inside of the sauce that we're making here, we want to add our cheese. So you have so many different options for cheese you can use. You can use Romanos, you can use Lucatellis, Parmesans, all up to you what kind of cheese you have in the house or whatever you want to cook with. I'll be using a Lucatelli for this recipe here. And when I'm adding the cheese in, when I'm making an Alfredo sauce, I like to do it in 1/3 cup intervals. You don't really know how much you're going to need. You're kind of just going by air here, right? You want to make sure that you have the proper amount, that it thickens up as a sauce, and you want to add it in slowly. It's going to splash in immediately. You want it to like sort of melt and incorporate as it goes in. You don't want a glob of cheese falling in. So there's our first 1/3 of a cup, and it's never done by the first 1/3 of a cup. Also, if you enjoy a more cheese-flavored sauce, you're going to want to add more cheese than you see. It'll be fine. It's going to hold up just fine. All right, we're going to hit it with one more 1/3 of a cup, bringing us up to a total of 2 cups, and I think we should be good at that point. Once again, if you do like a cheesier sauce, you're going to want to add more cheese than you see right here. But go ahead and make sure that fully incorporates before we move on to the next step. So after you've stirred that and incorporated it for a little while, it's going to start to really thicken up. You'll feel it. It's not really moving as much. This is also, of course, going to continue to thicken as we heat it up, and then ultimately once it cools down. So we don't want to go too crazy with it yet, but we do need to get our pasta started. So for the pasta, I have about 4 cups of tortellini prepared and ready to go. Once again, like I said, this stuff cooks incredibly quickly. You can also see my cheese sauce is starting to boil, so I do need to drop the heat on this very, very much. We'll just stir it for now while I go ahead and drop the pasta. But add your pasta in slowly. You don't want to splash yourself in the face. And go ahead and keep that uncovered so we can see when it does start to come back to a boil. The cheese sauce, you can see here, is getting all messed up on me here, the Alfredo sauce, so I do need to make sure I drop this heat substantially, otherwise it's going to burn on me. If this does happen to you, don't panic, just go ahead and drop your heat, stir it up with your spoon, it'll start to thicken back up and the boiling will subside. You can even take it off the heat if you need to. So we're kind of just in a holding pattern here, you just have to keep stirring the sauce while you wait for the tortellini to start to boil again, or whatever pasta you're using. So you can see the tortellini over there has come back up to a boil. I'm still turning my sauce over here. You gotta make sure you continuously stir it. I have dropped the heat a little bit on the sauce to keep it from boiling over, and you're gonna feel it start to thicken up as you continually drop the heat. So before we ultimately do dump the pasta, we're going to kill the heat entirely on the sauce, and then you'll see in a rapid transition of all the different things that have to happen here at the end. But for a little guideline of sauce, right, if you wanna make sure you have the right thickness and you're gonna be ready to go, what I've always done is I just take a typical spoon, and what you want to do is you want to dip it in the sauce, get it down in there, and you want to see if it sticks to the back. So you can see I'm still a little drippy, so I could probably do with a little bit of an addition of sauce, or cheese rather, but I'm pretty confident as it cools it's going to thicken up, so I'm not going to bother with that. So once again, tortellini takes a few minutes, about 2-3 minutes after it starts to boil before it is finally done. So we're just going to chill on that. Alright, so the pasta is ready to go, so I'm going to take the sauce off of the heat, take the pasta over to the sink, strain it, and bring back over the bowl here. Go ahead and kill the heat on everything that you see here. Finish straining the pasta and go ahead and dump it back into the same bowl that it just came out of, or the same pot. And then we want to immediately add our sauce over the top of this. So just go ahead and pour your sauce over the top of your pasta. If you can't get all of your sauce out, you can go ahead and use one of those handy dandy plastic spatulas that lets let you scrape all the stuff out, get all of that goodness in, any bits of garlic that may have stuck to the bottom. Now go ahead and just stir that in, incorporate it all together. What's going to happen is that some of the starches from the pasta are also going to thicken up the sauce as you put it in there. We'll bring this over to the closer burner so you can really get a good look at it here. Just go ahead and stir that all together. Now at this point you could add any greenery that you want. You could add it from now, you could sprinkle it over the top when you're done. Entirely up to you when you want to add that type of stuff. Also, if you wanted to mix in some chicken or shrimp or anything like that in with the pasta, now is a great time to do it while you're incorporating it all together. To plate, go ahead and get like a ladle, scoop some out of the bowl, center it as best you can on the plate. Get some fresh parsley, or if you're like me, real fresh parsley. Sprinkle it over the top. At this point, you could add whatever you wanted, chicken, shrimp, maybe some little bits of broccoli, and you are good to go. Anyway, guys, I hope you did like this video. If you did like the video, make sure to leave a like. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and make sure you're subscribed so you stay updated when new content comes out. To get it out of this little skin and hard casing, just take your chef's knife and pop it. Just take your chef's knife and pop it. Damn it.